Do you want to build a stable, meaningful, and impact-driven career in Australia? Well, Australian Public Service could be the best place for you. Australian Public Service can open up great opportunities for you. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to get a job in the Australian public sector. So I'm coming to you with more than 8 years of working experience in the public sector. So I've been working with the largest state government department for the past 8 years. So based on my own experience in this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 steps that will help you to get started in the Australian public sector. Before getting started with Australian public sector jobs, it's really important that you have a clear understanding of the Australian public sector system and the various roles that are available. Government jobs span a diverse range of roles and specializations. Professionals from almost any background can find success in the public sector if applying for roles within selection criteria that closely fits their skill set and experience. There are 3 main levels of government jobs: local, state, and federal. Local jobs for local councils, which span all metropolitan and regional areas across Australia. State government department jobs are for state and territory governments like New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, etc. State government jobs are usually based across several hubs throughout the state. So even before you're thinking to getting a job in the public sector, you have to consider whether you want to go for APS jobs or the state government jobs. Another key important aspect would be to understand the difference between the public sector and the private sector jobs. The biggest difference between public and private sector is that the private sector is made up of organizations that are privately owned, whereas the public sector comprises organizations that are owned and operated by the government. So there are different areas where the public sector and the private sector jobs are way too different. There are basic differences between private sector and public sector jobs, and there could be lots of different factors that will determine which is better in which field. But obviously, whereas the public sector more attractive than the private sector is the stability of the job, the employee benefits and working conditions. And as an employee of the public sector, I have experienced that public sector benefits, working conditions are far better than the private sector jobs. Now let's talk about the 4 strategies that will help you get started in the Australian public sector. The very first step to get started in the Australian public sector is to understand the grade classification of the jobs and where to find them. So in Australia, government jobs are advertised with clear levels. In the APS, jobs are graded from APS 1 to SES, which stands for Senior Executive Service. At state level, you'll also find different classification. For example, in New South Wales, the classification starts with clerk grade and typically it starts with 3-4. And in Victoria, the classification is known as VPS. So once you understand the grades and classifications, then you have to find the right website through which you can find these jobs. And you'll find each state, they have their own job portal where you will find these available jobs in their public sector. So for federal government, you'll find all the advertised role in apsjobs.gov.au. And for state government departments, each state have their own job sites. For example, in New South Wales, the job portal is called iworkfornewsouthwales.gov.au. In Victoria, the job site is called careers.victoria.gov.au. So the very first step to get started in the Australian public sector is to understand the grade classification and also know these websites where to find the right roles. And probably the best idea would be to set alerts in these job sites. So once you know this website where to find the right jobs, create your own profile and also set up job alerts, which will send you automated notification based on your skills. Step number 2 is to prepare a targeted resume and also know how to write the selection criteria. Government jobs in Australia aren't like regular private sector jobs. Your resume, cover letter, and responses to selection criteria are really crucial. For example, the resume in Australian public sector has to be very brief. It cannot be very extended and long resume. And you'll find in every advertised role, there are specific selection criteria. So you'll also have to learn how to write the selection criteria. To write the selection criteria for any Australian public sector jobs, you have to use a specific format called the STAR method. And the STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. For example, if the selection criteria says, describe a time you managed a difficult stakeholder, don't just say, I'm good with people, tell a real story. Another important pathway to get a job in the Australian public sector is to connect with recruiting agencies and recruitment consultants. There are some major recruitment agencies who are doing most of the recruitments on behalf of the government departments. And if you do a random Google search, you'll find many recruitment agencies who are doing lots of recruitments on behalf of the government departments. So it's worthwhile to jump into the website of these recruitment agencies and also connect with this recruiting consultant and get in touch with them, exchange exchange your ideas that which type of job are you interested in, share your resume with them, and then get started. And that could also be a good pathway for you to getting started, because at the beginning you may not know enough about the public departments or the roles, but the recruitment agency and the recruitment consultant, they will guide you and they will shape your resume and present you in the way that the government departments are looking for the right skill set. So once you're selected for any of the roles, next step is to getting preparation for the interview. In Australia, the interviews in the public sector follow a typical pattern called a behavioral interview technique. A behavioral interview is a type of job interview where you are asked to give specific examples from your past experience to demonstrate how you handle certain situations. The idea is that the past experience is the best predictor of future performance. The standard way to respond in the behavioral interview is to use the STAR method. S stands for situation, which is what is the context or background. T stands for task, which means what was your responsibility or goal. A stands for action, what specific steps did you take. And R stands for result, which is what was the outcome. Once you face an interview, that will give you that early experience and set your foot in the right direction. So working in the government is not only about the job security, it's about making a real difference. With the right approach and little patience, you can absolutely make it. In this channel, I talk about research, data, strategy, and also my experience of working in the public sector as well. So for those of you who want to get a job in the public sector, or you also want to have a professional development in the field of the job that you're doing, this channel will also guide you with lots of demonstrated experience that I bring in from my more than 20 years of work experience from not only the Australian public sector, but also from other commercial sectors as well. So if you're new to this channel, you can definitely subscribe to this channel and stay with me. And I promise I'll definitely guide your path along the way of developing a successful career.